It is your problem because you have supported aggression against Iran. If the Iranian people are suffering, it is because wars that your regime has helped enable by supporting Trump, by supporting the United States. 3 wars have been imposed upon our country for the last 47 years. All 3 were supported by the United States, and in all 3, the United States was directly involved. The maximum pressure sanctions on the Iranian people are because Iran supports the Palestinian people while your government supports the genocide. You're not very much of a journalist, are you? Iran did not violate the MoU. The United States has been violating the MoU on multiple levels from the beginning.
The Western media machine operates on a very simple assumption. They assume you haven't read the documents. They assume that if they repeat a lie often enough, with enough authority, you will simply accept it as reality. But what happens when the establishment brings on a guest who actually brought the receipts? Look at your screen. An Australian state-affiliated journalist just tried to ambush Professor Mohammad Marandi, attempting to frame Iran as the sole violator of international agreements in the Strait of Hormuz. What follows is one of the most brutal, methodical takedowns of corporate media framing ever broadcast. Marandi doesn't just reject her premise, he pulls out the actual signed agreement and forces her to confront the text live on air. The panic that sets in is incredible to watch. Before we roll this clip, please make sure you hit that subscribe button. Let's roll the tape.
The United States murdered our leaders. The United States destroyed our critical infrastructure along with the genocidal Zionist regime that your government loves. And so you're in no position to critique Iran. But when we finally had an MoU with the Trump regime, in Article 5 of that MoU, the movement through the Strait of Hormuz is to be managed during the period when the MoU is valid by the Iranians. And the Americans, in violation of the MoU, created their own corridor. The Iranians warned them and warned ships for days, and they ignored Iran until ultimately Iran was forced to strike those ships so that other ships do not disobey. They have to go through the corridor that Iran has determined for them. And this is not the only violation of the Trump regime. The Trump regime has failed, in accordance with MoU, to hand over stolen Iranian assets. It has failed to force the Israeli regime to leave Lebanon and to stop the slaughter. It has continued to threaten to murder Iranians, to wipe out the country, and to slaughter its leaders in violation of a commitment in the MoU. So the United States is violating every single element of the MoU,
now,
not Iran.
If I may,
that's
a long answer.
Let me also reverse its removal of sanctions on the Iranian oil sector.
Let me just come in because the MoU did not say that about the Strait of Hormuz. But let me ask you this: Will Iran?
It does indeed.
Will Iran ever return to the pre-war situation where ships had free passage through the Strait of Hormuz?
No, indeed, the MoU does say that it is Iran that will normalize the passage through the Strait of Hormuz, and in collaboration with Oman, they will determine how things will be carried out in future. Iran wants the passage of goods and services and products to move through the Strait of Hormuz because that's how our economy and the economy of our region grows.
Is the Strait of...
We didn't wage war.
Let me ask you this. However bold your statements are in defense of Iran, it's still a country in the midst of an economic crisis. Many of the population, as much as 40% of the population, lives below the poverty line. The war has badly damaged your industrial base. Don't the people of Iran deserve a chance for peace?
Well, that's your problem, isn't it? Your aggression. You support the aggressor.
I think the question is about the people of Iran. I'm asking you a question about whether the people of Iran deserve a chance for peace and to establish some economic future for the country.
It's very difficult for you to tolerate anything that goes against your narrative, isn't it? It is your problem because you have supported aggression against Iran. If the Iranian people are suffering, it is because wars that your regime has helped enable by supporting Trump, by supporting the United States. 3 wars have been imposed upon our country for the last 47 years. All 3 were supported by the United States, and in all 3, the United States was directly involved. The maximum pressure sanctions on the Iranian people are because Iran supports the Palestinian people, while your government supports the genocide.
Let me ask you a question, if I may. Let me ask you a question about those sanctions. The sanctions that were imposed on Iran by the European Union and the United States were in relation to Iran's development of a nuclear weapons program. Now, as things stand, if the conflict continues, the USA will not deliver the billions of dollars in unfrozen assets to Iran, as was agreed under the terms of the MoU. Doesn't Iran need that cash to rebuild the country?
When you mean frozen assets, you mean stolen assets, right?
I mean what I said.
Those...
exactly what I said. Frozen assets under sanctions delivered to the Iranian government because of its development of a nuclear weapons program. Go ahead.
Don't be too cowardly. Stolen assets. What was an Iranian nuclear weapons program? Where's your evidence of this? Where did we have a nuclear weapons program?
I'm just asking
you
to
your claim.
Answer the question if you would.
Claim.
Doesn't Iran need the money that was promised to Iran in the Memorandum of Understanding or committed to Iran if peace talks continue? Doesn't Iran need that money to rebuild the country?
First, source your claim. When did Iran have a nuclear weapons program?
We're not going to get into a debate about that because we've got about a minute left to discuss. I want to stick to the subjects of the day. That is the breach of the MoU by Iran attacking ships using the southern corridor through the Strait of Hormuz. And I want to get one thing clear, that Iran will continue to attack ships who use that southern channel through the Strait of Hormuz close to Oman.
You're not very much of a journalist, are you? Iran did not violate the MoU. The United States has been violating the MoU on multiple levels from the beginning, starting from Article 1 and including Article 5 with regards to the Strait of Hormuz. You know this, I know this, everyone knows this. But since you are Australian and you are affiliated to the state, and since you've been supporting genocide in Gaza, I don't expect anything from you.
All right, stop the tape right there. I want you to watch what that journalist just did, because you are looking at the exact blueprint of how corporate media manufactures consent in real time. The moment Professor Marandi cites Article 5 of the memorandum, the moment he proves, using the actual text, that the Western coalition is the one violating the agreement, what does she do? Does she concede the point? Does she engage with the facts? No. She instantly pivots. She completely abandons the Strait of Hormuz and tries to weaponize the poverty of the Iranian people against him. And that right there is where the mask completely slips. Let's talk about that poverty she is so suddenly concerned about. She brings up the economic crisis as if it is some natural disaster that just fell out of the sky. She conveniently ignores the massive elephant in the room. Roughly $100 billion in sovereign assets that have been frozen, or as Marandi accurately calls it, stolen by the Western financial system. This exposes the dark reality of the so-called rules-based international order. The rules are only ever applied in one direction. We are living under a geopolitical mafia. The establishment will seize a nation's wealth, gut their industrial base with maximum pressure sanctions, fund and arm the relentless bombing of neighboring regions like Lebanon, and then send a perfectly coiffed journalist on television to ask, why are your people suffering? Don't they deserve peace? It is sociopathic. And Marandi refused to let her get away with it. He didn't scream. He didn't lose his temper. He just demanded the evidence. Where is your evidence of a nuclear weapons program? Read the text of Article 5. And the entire media apparatus short-circuited because they do not know how to function outside of their pre-approved talking points. Think about the sheer hypocrisy here. A ceasefire in Lebanon was supposedly signed months ago, yet the strikes have continued day after day, piling up thousands of casualties in plain sight. The exact same governments demanding that Iran strictly adhere to every dotted I and cross T of a shipping corridor agreement are completely silent when their own allies violate a ceasefire. Why does this matter to you, sitting here watching this on Floor Leader Insider? Because the exact same propaganda tactics they use to justify endless foreign wars and global sanctions are the exact same tactics they use on you. The media pivots, the deliberate omission of context, the weaponization of false morality. It is a uniparty playbook designed to protect the military-industrial complex and the financial elite, while everyday citizens pay the price. They demand perfect compliance from their enemies, while holding themselves to absolutely zero standard of international law. It's not about peace. It's never been about peace. It is about total control. But the global script is failing. The uniparty is panicking because they can no longer control the narrative, and independent voices are finally calling their bluff. If you want the unapologetic truth, and if you are tired of the establishment's fake moral high ground, hit that subscribe button right now. We are tearing down the corporate spin and exposing the real power dynamics every single week. This is Floor Leader Insider, and I will see you in the next breakdown.